Hey YouTube, it's me, I'm back. I'm here to film my current makeup routine. Yes, I am so excited. I currently have no makeup on, as you can probably tell, and I'm ready to show you what I've been wearing, how I've been doing my makeup for the last few months or years, and how it's varied and how it's changed. And now that I'm in my mid-30s, doing my makeup is very different than what I did in my 20s. I can tell you that for a fact. So if you're watching this and you're in your 20s, get ready, because stuff's coming at you. So I think before we jump into the makeup, it's probably makes the most sense to talk about what I've prepped my skin with. So I'll run you through what's on my skin right now, skincare wise, and then we'll jump right in. Okay, so starting out, I have cleansed my face, and then I have put in some plumping humectants and moisture. I have it here because I'm gonna use it again, the Kosas Plump and Juicy Spray On Serum. I did a facial essence that I've made myself, so lots of hyaluronic and really good plumping ingredients. Then I've used a facial oil that I made myself, so really nice, light, balancing, fast absorbing face oil. So whatever your favorite choice is, there you go. And then I have prepped with the Ultraviolet Clean Screen SPF 30, which is probably my favorite sunscreen, the one I've repurchased most likely the most in my life, and the one I would be most devastated if it disappeared. And as we jump in, I'm gonna put on a little bit of Kosas Sport in Baseline, which is just the clear LipFuel. I feel like I need a little extra lip hydration, and I am gonna do another mist because I've had my skincare on for an hour and I like a little bit of moisture underneath my makeup. Step one, we are going in with the NYX brow pen. I've just got a little clean spoolie. I'm just gonna brush my brows up. When I use a brow pen, I like to do this first. I find if you use a brow pen that's felt tip, oop, my spoolie almost jumped off my window here. If you use a brow pen that's a felt tip or little bristles, and then you put that over maybe potentially some foundation or powder or anything, it gunks up the tip of your pen and your pen will kind of die off. So I've got a little mirror here I'm gonna use because I need to see, because you're maybe, I don't know, 2 feet from me, and that's a bit far. So I use this really in the tail end of my brow where I need some extra shape, and then I'll do a couple little flicks in the front. So I'll kind of, I guess maybe lean in a little here for this part. So a couple little flicks in the front, and then immediately grab my spoolie and brush it through. With a brow pen, you've got maybe, I don't know, 10 or 15 seconds to kind of diffuse it and soften the color before everything gets out of control and you can't blend it anymore. And we'll go out here into the tail end. Do another little brush. And then I will take a little bit just to the arch if I need it. I'm probably 2.5 or 3 weeks from my last eyebrow tint, so I feel like I'm using more product. When my brows are freshly tinted, I use almost nothing. So, all right, I'm gonna do the other one really quick to get right into the next step. Brows done. I don't like to do a lot of fuss with them. I've got pretty good brows to start, so if I feel like I do too much, they start to take over my face because they are quite large. Next up, I do my skin, and I start with a light layer of something to kind of even out my skin tone, so truly what foundation or tinted moisturizer is supposed to be. And then I use concealer just where I need full coverage. So, you know, if I've got something like, I had a couple little breakouts over here, I've had some ingrown hairs down here recently, those areas will get full coverage, but areas like my forehead that are pretty much always relatively clear, maybe a little rosy, will just get a tint. So what I've been loving and using probably the last 2 or 3 months, so the Westman Atelier Vital Skin Stick Foundation, and I use it with kind of a flat top buffing brush. This is one from Mecca here in Australia. I don't think they make this one anymore. It's part of their Cosmetica ones. But I actually find if you use a stick and you swipe it on the skin directly, you tend to put too much on. So I feel like I get more control if I use my brush and pick up a little bit of product on it. And then for here, my forehead, for instance, I'm just gonna kind of buff it over the skin because I'm not trying to build coverage. So this buffing and kind of smoothing it out keeps the coverage quite sheer. And I'm also using very little for a large area of my face. But then areas where I maybe want a little more before I go in with concealer, I'll take my product and kind of stipple it in. So you can see now I'm doing more of a pressing. All right, so if I turn, you can still see some redness and stuff poking through. I don't like to build the product up too much because I feel like foundation is not meant to conceal everything. So I will use a little of this, just tapped right under my eye. I don't have a lot of darkness under my eyes, so I don't like to put a lot of product underneath there. So normally I'll just use whatever foundation I'm using. Next up, Revealer Concealer. We are using this to get full coverage anywhere I need it. I adore this concealer since the first day it came out, or I have adored this concealer since the first day it came out. It's really blendable. Super creamy is in the name because it truly is so easy to use, and you can blend it with a sponge, your fingers, a brush. You can swipe it directly on, you can put it on the back of your hand. There's really no wrong way to apply this. So I'm gonna use the wand and just pop it anywhere I need a little more coverage. And I will kind of use this, you can see here, on some larger areas. So I'm not being, you know, super light-handed with it. But when I go to blend it, I'm not gonna be putting this everywhere because that foundation kind of cut down some of the rosiness that I had. And then this is really designed to just pick up the coverage where I need it. I got a little between my eyebrows there. And then because I keep things as easy as possible, same brush. I'm not gonna do anything else. So I'll just stipple that in. That'll allow me to blend it while keeping as much coverage as possible. Now that my skin is done coverage-wise, I'm gonna use the Plump and Juicy Mist. I like to add in this little bit of hydration, let it sit while I'm kind of doing anything else to brows, eyes, or lips before I go in with any cheek products or powder. So I can really feel like my skin looks the way I want it to. So while that mist is drying, it feels very refreshing at the moment. It's quite warm here today in Canberra. I think we're at 30 degrees or 31 degrees. What does my watch say? Yeah, 30 degrees at the moment. I'm gonna use the Kosas Airbrow Clear and just brush my brows up, finish them in place. This is a really good hold without being crunchy, which in my opinion, it's nothing worse than a crunchy brow you can feel if your face moves throughout the day. My hair is so funky at the moment. I've got a haircut later this week, thankfully, because I was supposed to get it last week, but I had to cancel my appointment. And when you have short hair, a week makes a difference. Brow gel on. I'm gonna use the Kosas 10-second eye in Simmer on my lid. These are really quick and easy, and I don't fuss. I'm not gonna even edit this down. I wanna show you how I apply it. So I swipe it on my eyelid. I leave it for 2 or 3 seconds, not even. And then I use a finger and just kind of tap it out. I'm really using this just to add a tiny bit of shimmer behind the lashes. Okay, that's done. And then I do follow with one more thing, which is the Mecca Max. These are the Zoom Shadow Sticks. And this one here is, I think Rose Pearl is the color. It's like a champagne-y, kind of nice neutral shade. I'm gonna just pop that in my waterline. And then I kind of scribble it in the inner corner, close that, put it away, and then I use a finger and just tap in the inner corner. All right, eyes are done except for mascara. We're using the CoverGirl Lash Blast Clean. I feel like this is a total throwback because the CoverGirl Lash Blast in the orange tube is one of the first, if not the first mascara I used back in like 2008. So yeah, I like this one though because it doesn't feel crunchy on the lashes. So I'm gonna pop this on. I won't be talking. I'm just gonna zoom through this because it's mascara. You can see one eye done, one eye not done. You gotta have mascara. Mascara is done. I feel like this builds a little better normally, but my tube is like, it is on day, I don't know, like 88 of 90 for my 3 months of mascara. So I feel like it's finishing up on me here. Okay, eyes done, brows done. Skin is ready for some color. I have fallen in love with blush over the last year, and I'm looking at my face right now like, you're gonna get some color on this face. So I've got my little little jar here with all the brushes and things that I'm using. I've still got a little bit of that baseline on the lips. I'm gonna just wipe over it because there's probably some foundation or concealer there too. And I'm gonna use another LipFuel in Rush, which is kind of the pinky one. Just on the bottom lip, rubbed into that base line so it's a bit more sheer, so I get a little color on the lip. And I do that first because I feel like if I know how much flush my lips have, will determine how much color I can put on my cheeks. If I do the cheeks first and then I'm like, ooh, there's concealer on my lips still, and I take that off, then sometimes I feel like it's like lip, cheek, so much happening. So yeah, maybe get a little color on your lips, especially if you're doing something like a red lip. You can't not wear blush, but you need to put the lip color on and then see how much blush you need to wear. So, and then I, again, double up. I'm gonna actually use Rush with the Kosas cheek brush and just pop that right on the cheeks. So I take the brush and kind of just press it in there, so I'm stippling it right over the tube. And then I start, for me, almost on the outer corner of the eye, right to the cheek. So that's where the brush first touches, and that's where it's going to first put the most color, and I kind of bounce back and forth. So I'm rocking the brush kind of left and right. I don't tend to go lower than kind of corner of the ear to the corner of the mouth. Like if you go too low, you're gonna get really kind of, I'm hot and it's tiring to be outside cheeks versus perfect fleshy, blushy cheeks. Okay, so with this, I think that's probably about enough. If I turn to the side, it probably looks like a lot. One of my big tips with cream blush is put on like 30 to 50% more concentration than you normally do, because after about 5 minutes, when your skin kind of absorbs some of those emollients and those oils or those butters that are in your cream product, your color is going to dissipate down quite a bit. So pick up your product, put it on, go a little heavy-handed. Because it's a cream product, you can easily blot it away with your foundation brush with a little concealer on it if needed, if you go overhanded and it doesn't dye back. But the worst thing you want to do is put it on and be like, well, that looks great, and then you leave your house and you don't have blush on anymore. So let me do the other side and we'll let that sit for a few minutes. Blush is on. I normally do Rush, the pinky one, but sometimes I do Flow, the kind of more tan one. I think today I'm feeling a little extra pinky. I've been leaning towards the pink ones more because I've been liking a little more color. Next up, skin and everything looks great, but I do like to take a little concealer, little revealer concealer just on the back of my hand, not very much. And this is now where I go in and I call this like your airbrushing. So you've got all your makeup on and things look great, but you're always gonna have a spot or two that's like still poking through. So I'm using, this is actually, I think it's Delium Tools. I got it at a makeup show or one of those events in New York like years ago. And I picked this up with this kind of fluffy brush. I'm gonna grab my mirror and I'm gonna go in and just kind of airbrush out any little spots that are still maybe visible. And you can see here, I've kind of put the concealer there, left it, moved over here, because if I just keep tapping, I'm gonna put a lot of product on there where there was a lot on the brush already. So I wanna get it where I need it. Now I can tell there's not much on, so I'm just gonna tap that around. And then I'll go back to those spots. And you could certainly at this point, go with your finger too if you need to. If you brought your blush a little low, you could use what's left on your brush and kind of clean up your blush there. You could use your brush and clean up your blush. Sorry, I feel like that is very confusing. So I desperately want to get away some of this shine in my T-zone. I love more glowy, dewy makeup, but there is a difference between glowy and dewy and sweaty and greasy. So I'm gonna use the Kosas Cloud Set in Airy. So this is the lightest one, and it's just a baked powder with a little bit of color and coverage to it. On the scale of like 1 to 10, 10 being like Derma Blend and 1 being like tinted translucent powder, this is like a 1 or a 2. Like it's definitely not gonna cover everything. It's not a powder foundation. I'm using a Real Techniques. This is actually a blush brush, but I like this kind of flat top for just picking up a little. So I'm not kind of going in and buffing, I'm just tapping to the powder. Picking up some, you can tap the excess off with your finger. I'm holding the brush a little further back because I don't want to put too much pressure on. And the reason I like this flat shape is I can actually just press it in those areas I want to get rid of some shine. So for me, that is kind of the side of the nose right here. This is where I want some blurring and some smoothing. Definitely the nose itself. So There's no sweeping happening here. We are just pressing, and I think you can already see how much kind of smoother that looks. Really good for pores and texture. If you have any scarring or if you have a breakout that's kind of dry and flaky, you don't want to go in and start kicking your brush around. You really want to be almost just lightly pressing the powder there. I shaved yesterday, so I shave every 3 days normally, sometimes 2 days. And so after yesterday, I've got a little bit of stubble, so I find if I start buffing, it moves my coverage around, but then also like it catches up the hair and things start to look a little funky. So I am not pro making your skin look worse than it needs to. Like, why? Finishing touch, little Westman Atelier. This is the Super Loaded Highlighter in Peau Peche. This has got a lot of color, so if you're fair like me, you could probably wear this just as blush. And I know for a while I did, but I like a little more blush. Now I'm just gonna use this just over where I put that LipFuel for a little extra. You can already see the difference. So like that looks good, that looks great. All right, final step, wet lip oil in Jellyfish. Just a little extra glossiness. And I think we are good to go. I'm feeling good, I'm feeling ready, I'm feeling covered where I need to be. I don't feel like I have a ton of makeup on. Nothing wrong with a ton of makeup. If you like makeup, wear it. Life is too short. Put on the blush, put on the foundation, have fun. Leave me any comments or questions or let me know anything that you've been doing with your makeup super differently than you used to in the comments below. I look forward to hearing from you. I hope you got something out of this, or at minimum you enjoyed hanging out and talking with me, and I will see you soon. Bye.